morning, everyone. My name's Lieutenant RUTH, Saginaw Police Department. I'd like to welcome everybody to this year's annual award ceremony and memorial service. I'd like to thank you all for coming and joining us as we pay tribute to our officers, both from the past and the present. Remember, after the event, there are refreshments in the back of the room. Please come back up after the memorial service and enjoy the refreshments. At this time, I would like to have Chaplain BOMMARITO step forward for the invocation.
Good morning and welcome. During the month of May, we take time to pause and reflect on those who have gone before us and those who now wear the uniform of the City of Saginaw Police Department. Would you all stand, please, if you're able? Let us pray. Creator God, once again we come humbly before you, 1 year older and hopefully 1 year wiser, to implore your blessing upon each of us as we remember our fallen comrades who in the line of duty gave their all. We rejoice in memorializing them for their dedicated service. They have been taken from us too soon and in violent ways, and we mourn their loss. Give us strength, O Lord, to continue to tell the stories of these brave men and women to our children and our children's children, that their legacy may live on and help us to grow in deep gratitude, to live in the greatest city and country in the world, the city of Saginaw, Michigan, and the United States of America. We continue to live in peace and freedom, thanks to our fallen officers. May they all rest in peace. May our God watch over them and bring them home at the end of their shift. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
First, I'd like to personally thank everybody for coming here today. There are many guests in our audience that I'd like to recognize at this time. I saw a few late stragglers. We have the prosecuting attorney is here, John McColgan. Saw the Undersheriff Bob Carl walk in just a few minutes ago as well. Chief Don Maurer from Frankenmuth Police Department. One of our retirees, former Deputy Chief, former Undersheriff Arnie Burns is here today. Battalion Chief Chris Van Loo from the Saginaw Fire Department is here. Tom McIntyre, Director of 911. Gus Grodzinski from the FBI office. Lieutenant Steve Sipes, Lieutenant Marv Jenkins, and Captain Rick Arnold from the State Police are here today. Lieutenant Gary Gruff from Saginaw Township is seated somewhere here today as well. Carol Cottrell, a former mayor. Laura Young from the Department of Corrections. Got a whole list from the Department of Corrections, so give me a second here. Bill Piggott. Russ Celebris. Lauren Wilson. James Blakely, Director Hines, and Deputy Director Sinclair are all here. Also see some of our council members are here in the audience as well, Councilman Browning, Councilman Clark, and Councilman Cloris. Again, I'd like to thank you all for being here today. It's a privilege to have you here. This year has been a difficult year for the officers and civilians working at our department. It's been a year of uncertainty and turmoil. We have seen a major downsizing of this department as we watch many of our employees retire or leave for jobs elsewhere. We now have 60 officers that were doing the job of 90 just a year ago, or 120 10 years ago, or 160 when I hired on 19 years ago. Yet despite these challenges, your officers and civilians that have worked at this police department have stepped up to the plate big time, many adjusting their hours and schedules to accommodate the downsizing. But not just by doing more with less, but continuing to do a very difficult job to the best of their ability and having an outstanding work ethic. Today, during the awards portion of this program, we will recognize those that have stood out over this past year and recognize the great accomplishment of the officers and civilians on this department. As you read through the program today, you will see that we are handing out more unit citations than any other award. In order to receive a unit citation, the officers and supervisors need to demonstrate an ability to work as a team in order to achieve a certain goal, accomplish a task, or solve a crime. It is teamwork that will get us through these difficult times. This teamwork is also demonstrated in this year's Meritorious Service Award and Life-Saving Award. Each shift and division in this department have become closely knit and can be proud of their accomplishments. I would like to thank each and every sworn member and civilian employee for their tireless work ethic and ability to maintain focus during difficult times. Can't thank you enough. 2 years ago, I had the opportunity and privilege to visit the Law Enforcement Memorial in Washington, D.C., and found the names of the fallen from this department on the memorial wall. It was quite a moving experience, and something that I hope to do again during the Law Enforcement Police Memorial Week. The 8 officers that we honor here today served this city with courage and honor. They gave their life to uphold the laws of this city, and for that we will always be thankful. Please keep them and their families in your hearts and prayers during the memorial service today, 2 of which are represented here. Cheryl Scott Brown is here, and Mary Hines, both family members of our fallen. We appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
Next, City of Saginaw Mayor Greg Branch will give the proclamation.
And before I do the proclamation, may I offer a few words of my own?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I'm very much aware that this has been a very difficult year for our police officers. Your numbers are down, your caseloads are up, your future's uncertain, and your job, as always, remains difficult, demanding, and dangerous. The difficulties we face as a city place us, in some ways, at odds with each other. Those differences go beyond the people here, beyond the people in this room, and they go beyond the present into the past, and they go beyond this city all the way to Lansing. Those differences, though, have no place here today. The only thing that matters here today is that we honor the police officers and citizens whose passion and courage have made a significant difference in the safety and quality of life in our city, and that we honor the memory of those Saginaw police officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the performance of their duty. Duty is an important word to remember today. It's a word that doesn't get used much anymore, and when it does, it's often, as Colonel Jessup says in A Few Good Men, used as a punchline. Like it or not, city manager has a duty, the chief has a duty, you have a duty, my council members and I have a duty. And as you know, duty sometimes leads us to a place where we don't want to be, making a decision we don't want to make, taking an action that puts us in conflict with others. And while we know that action might be right, it will be roundly criticized by many. But no one has lost sight of the fact that the duty faced by our men and women in blue is different and more extreme. The places you go, the decisions you make, the actions you take, as well as the things you see, hear, and feel, are worthy of our respect, our gratitude, and our admiration. On behalf of Council and the citizens of Saginaw whom we represent, I offer my admiration, my respect, and my gratitude for your devotion to your duty. And I have a proclamation. Whereas law enforcement officers of the City of Saginaw carry a tremendous responsibility to protect our citizens, they fulfill this responsibility tirelessly, with courage and commitment, often placing themselves in harm's way. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, hazards, responsibilities, and sacrifices of these brave officers as they serve our community. And whereas the courageous men and women of the Saginaw City Police Department should be honored for the discipline and distinction they show in preserving the rights, freedom, and safety of all citizens of Saginaw. And whereas it is difficult to completely show our true appreciation for the services the men and women provide for the community. These brave officers often put their lives on the line to protect our citizens, sometimes making the ultimate sacrifice. And whereas the President of the United States of Congress have designated May 12th through 18th, 2013 as National Police Week, all citizens are encouraged to observe this week with appropriate ceremonies to commemorate law enforcement officers, both past and present, who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to the residents of the city of Saginaw. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Gregory Branch, on behalf of my fellow council members, do hereby proclaim May 14th, 2013 as Police Memorial Day in the city of Saginaw, and urge all citizens to observe this day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty. I further encourage schools, businesses, religious institutions, service organizations, and the community as a whole to recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Saginaw to be affixed this 6th day of May in the year of our Lord, 2013. Greg Branch, Mayor. Councilpersons Dennis Browning, Mayor Pro Tem, Annie Bench, Norman Braddock, Larry Coloris, Daniel Fitzpatrick, Floyd Clock, Amos O'Neill, and Andrew Wendt. Darnell Early, City Manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Next, we'll have some words from our Assistant City Manager for Public Safety, Mr. Phil Ludos.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Ruth, and welcome everybody. Like the speakers before me, this is a solemn day. This month of May, we celebrate and remember our men and women in uniform. Yesterday, I was on a podium similar to this one, honoring men and women in the armed forces. And during that memorial service that I attended, I was struck by the similarities that many of the speakers in a particular video showed between military duty and that of our law enforcement personnel. The words used were simply the path of a warrior, and those presentations are the foundation of my comments today. There are today many callings: teacher, doctor, a variety of working positions, political. Of these, the path of the warrior is one of the more difficult. It is without a doubt one of the hardest paths of service. And today we honor the men and women of the Saginaw Police Department who are not just being honored for their service here, but are remembering those who went before us and for those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Today, the men and women being honored are laying a foundation that has become the tradition for the Saginaw Police Department. Throughout history, warriors have been called upon to protect the country and its cities, to protect the freedoms and the safety that the Constitution has given to all men equally. Those who answer the call do so knowing the risks and the dangers that they may face personally, and yet they respond. And those here today being recognized join an elite group who have responded. The City of Saginaw's Police Department has a long history of responding. The men and women of the Saginaw Police Department who have followed the path of the warrior, who have gone before them, have demonstrated the qualities that all warriors must have: courage, commitment, and resilience. Courage to daily encounter the many depravities in society as they witness the brutality that humans can inflict on other humans. Commitment to leave their loved ones each day as they come to work to provide protection and safety to all that their oath has required. And finally, resilience, to keep their humanity in the face of so much inhumanity. Those are the characteristics that I have seen in the men and women of the Saginaw Police Department. Politics and opinions ebb and flow like the tides within the oceans. But the path of the warrior is steadfast. He or she understands duty and honor, and the men and women who we are recognizing today, symbolize that call to duty in what has become a very difficult and trying times. So to each of you receiving these awards, and those who have gone before, I thank you for your dedication and your service to the City of Saginaw and its citizens. Thank you.
Now some words from our city manager, Mr. Darnell Early.
To the men and women of the Saginaw Police Department and to the new chief of the Saginaw Police Department, Chief Brian Light. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? The good thing about that is that that's probably one of the brightest things that have happened in this city over the last year. That is giving then Lieutenant Brian Light and Assistant Chief Brian Light the opportunity to lead the Saginaw Police Department. And I'm very confident that through Brian's leadership, the Saginaw Police Department will continue to flourish. The Saginaw Police Department will continue to provide services to the public, and that the chief will continue to represent the city, just as all of the men and women on the Saginaw Police Department will represent the city with pride and distinction. The scriptures tell us that blessed are the peacemakers, for the work that they do entails not only potential personal tragedy, but tragedy on every hand. Theirs is a difficult job. No one has ever said that that road was an easy one. But it is important to note that anyone taking a position of any kind does not take it for its ease of effort or its glamour or grandiose recognition. In our profession, we're public servants. That means we provide a service to the people. That means we are responsible stewards for the best interest of the people that we serve, all of the people. Usually when you take a job of that nature, they swear you in. You stand up and you swear to uphold. You swear to do this, you swear to do that. You pledge to do this, and you will always do whatever. But the bottom line of that measure is, what have I done for those who depend on me to get the job done? And I can think of no better role where that exemplifies itself in our role as public administrators than in the work of policemen and women. So I want to leave with you, as we continue our service, some thoughts that I think are very pertinent, not only to public servants, not only to police and fire personnel, but also to city managers. I pledge my courage to race and conquer my own fear, courage to take me where others will not go. I pledge my strength of body to protect others, strength of spirit to lead others. I pledge my dedication to my job, to do it well, dedication to my community, to keep it safe. I pledge my concern for those who trust me and my compassion for those who need me. It's one thing to make those pledges, but if those pledges aren't rooted in some kind of spiritual belief, they are meaningless. And so I offer another prayer, pledge, commitment, whatever you choose to call it. Lord, I ask for courage, to face and conquer my own fears, courage to take me where others will not go. I ask for strength of body to protect others, and strength of spirit to lead others. I ask for dedication to my job, to do it well, dedication to my community, to keep it safe, and please, Lord, through it all, be by my side. Those words are very similar in both of those quotes because the issues are very similar. And we have an obligation to give the very best of our service to our community, to those who depend upon us, and for those who have given the ultimate sacrifice, who now sit at the right hand of their Maker, having sacrificed more than others will ever sacrifice. And for those who have gone above and beyond the call of duty, which is why I mentioned the fact that we have a new chief, because he exemplifies going above and beyond the call of duty. He will be an excellent leader. And the Saginaw Police Department will get through this difficulty. And the 51,000 people of the city of Saginaw will continue to enjoy a good quality of life. That is the pledge, and that most definitely is my prayer. Thank you.
We'll now start the program for the awards. When I call your name, if you could please come up in front of the stage. The first award will be for Meritorious Unit Commendation. This award is presented to Sergeant Stephen Woodcock, Officer Tenayuki. Please step forward. Officer Rob Adams, Sergeant Craig Bell, Officer Diane Mealeader, Trooper Paul Oster, Trooper Everett Renault. On November 22nd, 2012, at approximately 0150 hours, Officers Woodcock, Tenayuki, Bell, Mealeader, Adams, and Michigan State Police Troopers Oster and Renault responded to a report of a female going door to door reporting that she had been sexually assaulted. This group of officers was able to ascertain the facts and get information out to other officers. They were able to locate the victim's vehicle, which was stolen by the two suspects, and a vehicle and foot pursuit ensued, followed by the two suspects being taken into custody and placed under arrest. The quick action of these officers were responsible for the apprehension of the suspects responsible for the sexual assault. Great police work from the officers helped to remove two dangerous suspects from the streets of our community. Sergeant Stephen Woodcock, Officer Tony Tenayuki, Officer Diane Mealeader, Officer Rob Adams, Sergeant Craig Bell, and Michigan State Police Troopers Everett Renault and Paul Oster are a credit to their community, the Saginaw Police Department, and the Michigan State Police. Thank you for your service. The next Meritorious Unit Commendation will go to Officer Brian Wilson. Please step forward. Officer Jason Daniel, who could not be here today. He had prior engagements. Officer Jeremy Holden. Officer Rick Thompson, who I should say is Detective Rick Thompson now. And Officer Tim Llewellyn, who could not be here today. On January 6, 2013, at approximately 0939 hours, Officers Wilson, Daniel, Holden, Thompson, and Llewellyn responded to a report of a carjacking by two armed suspects that had just occurred in the 1000 block of North Oakley Street. Officers Wilson located the abandoned vehicle stolen near North Michigan and Catherine Streets. Officers were able to track the suspect's shoe prints in the snow to an area residence where they made contact with the suspects and located the firearm used in the commission of their crime. Other valuable evidence was confiscated, linking them as the perpetrators. As a result of the officers' diligence, the armed suspects confessed to the crime. Quick response, teamwork, attention to detail, thoroughness equals great police work. And it assured the apprehension of the suspect and important evidence. Officers Brian Wilson, Jason Daniel, Jeremy Holden, Rick Thompson, and Tim Llewellyn, you are a credit to your community and to the citizens of Saginaw and the Saginaw Police Department. Thank you for your service. It's an outstanding job, Brian. Great work, Jeremy. Okay, the next meritorious unit commendation will go to Detective Sergeant Chris Chambers. If you could please step forward. Detective Sergeant Reggie Williams. Sergeant Mike East. Officer James Hildebrandt. Officer Jeff Wenzel. Officer Sal Salazar. Officer Nathaniel Volker. Officer Oscar Lopez. Officer Rick Lutz, who is not here. He's in the Michigan State Police Academy at this time. Officer Jared Atha and Officer Brad Holt. On January 25th, 2013, at approximately 1300 hours, officers responded to the venue reference of B&E in progress at 619 South 16th Street in the city of Saginaw, where 3 suspects were kicking in the front door of the home. Once on scene, it was determined entry was made and items were stolen. Officers located fresh footprints in the snow and tracked the prints for several blocks and approached a house where the inhabitants refused to come out. Officers surrounded the venue until a search warrant was obtained. During the search of the home, evidence from the B&E was obtained. The collection efforts of these officers show commitment and dedication to a high standard of police work. Sergeant Chris Chambers, Detective Sergeant Reggie Williams, Sergeant East, Officer Hildebrandt, Officer Salazar, Officer Wenzel, Officer Lopez and Hope, and Officer Lutz, along with Officer Atha and Officer Volker, are a credit to your community and the city of Saginaw and the Saginaw Police Department. Thank you for your service. Good job. Congratulations, Reggie. Congratulations. The next award is Meritorious Unit Commendation, and it goes to Sergeant Kelly Schmidt. Would you please step forward? Officer Leon Burns, Officer Jason Daniel, Officer Jeremy Holden, Detective Rick Thompson, Officer Tim Llewellyn, Officer Brian Wilson, Officer Jeff Maddie, and Officer Ian Winger. On February 25th, 2013, at approximately 13:51 hours, there was an armed robbery of a business committed in the 1800 block of North Michigan. The suspect, who was armed with a sawed-off shotgun, had fled the scene on foot. Your quick response to the scene, coordination to establish a perimeter, led to the immediate apprehension of the suspect, who was observed by Officers Wilson and Thompson suspiciously leaving the area in a vehicle. Further investigation led to the recovery of over $14,000 in stolen cash, the suspect's firearm, and other crucial evidence linking the suspect to this crime, and ultimately a confession. Great police work from the officers helped to remove a dangerous fleeing felon from the streets of our community. Officers Jeremy Holden, Brian Wilson, Leon Burns, Ian Winger, Jeff Maddie, Jason Daniel, Tim Llewellyn, Detective Rick Thompson, and Sergeant Kelly Schmidt. You are a credit to your community, the Saginaw Police Department, and the citizens of Saginaw. Thank you for your service. Congratulations, Kelly. That's a good job. Congratulations again. You deserve it. Congratulations, Ryan. Outstanding job, Ryan. The next is a Meritorious Unit Commendation for Officer Jared Atha, Doug Wortley, Officer Wenzel, Officer Kyle Brandon, who no longer works at this department, Officer Ashley Harkins, no longer works here, Officer James Hildebrandt, and Officer John Byerline. Could you please step forward, John? I saw him in the back of the room a minute ago. And he obviously He could have. John is working at this time, so he had to go to a call. The next is a commendation award. The first is presented to Officer Wortley, who could not be here today. The next is presented to Officer Brian Wilson. On August 23rd, 2012, at approximately 04:22 hours, Officer Steve Lautner and Brian Wilson responded to the area of Davis Drive in Saginaw Township after a report of a home invasion in progress. The officers observed a suspect take flight upon their arrival. The suspect was able to elude the officers. However, the officers gave relentless pursuit by tracking the suspect in the early morning dew. They were able to locate the hiding suspect and recover stolen items. Great police work from these officers helped to remove a dangerous suspect from the streets of our community. Officer Steve Lautner and Brian Wilson are a credit to their community, Saginaw Police Department, and the citizens of the city of Saginaw. Thank you, Brian, for your service. The next award is a civilian citation. Mr. Calvin Gill, would you please come forward? On March 10th, 2013, at approximately 15:40 hours, a shooting took place at 2302 North Michigan. Mr. Calvin Gill had witnessed this foul act. When the police officers arrived on scene, he took the initiative, stepped up, and provided the officers with vital information that led to the arrests of 3 individuals that later were found to have committed these violent acts. Mr. McGill, because of your courage to do the right thing, 3 dangerous criminals are off the streets of Saginaw. You, sir, are a credit to your community, and we thank you for your courage. Thank you, sir. The next award is a Meritorious Service Award, and this is to be awarded to Michigan Department of Corrections Agent Walt Wessipo. Through interagency cooperation, Agent Wessipo has been assigned to work out of the Saginaw Police Department headquarters in conjunction with an interagency violent crime task force. Agent Wessipo has gone above and beyond what has been expected of him, often changing his work hours to assist with ongoing initiatives and investigations that are necessary for an effective and coordinated violence prevention effort. His professionalism and dedication to this effort has resulted in many violent offenders being apprehended before they would have the opportunity to prey further upon our community. Agent Walt Wessipo, you are a valuable asset to the success of our interagency efforts, and you bring great credit upon the Saginaw Police Department, the Michigan Department of Corrections, and the citizens of the city of Saginaw. Thank you for your service, sir. Outstanding job, Walt. The next award is the Exceptional Performance Award. That was presented to Officer Doug Jordan. He was unable to attend today. The next award that we have is a Life-Saving Award, and this is presented to Michigan State Police Detective Sergeant Scott Woodard. Would you please come forward? And Civilian Jason McMahon. On September 17th, 2012, at approximately 0:16 hours, a 54-year-old construction worker in the 600 block of North Hamilton Street had passed out and was not breathing. The victim's coworker, Jason McMahon, immediately began to render aid in the form of CPR to the victim. Sergeant Woodard was not far from the scene and had heard the dispatch for medical assistance. Sergeant Woodard responded to the scene and assisted McMahon with performing CPR on the victim until MMR personnel arrived. MMR personnel took over, performing CPR, and managed to revive the victim, who was then transported to St. Mary's Hospital for life-saving treatment. Detective Sergeant Scott Woodard and Civilian Jason McMahon, you are a credit to the Department of State Police, the City of Saginaw Police Department, the community of Saginaw, and the citizens of the City of Saginaw. Thank you for your service. Great job, Scott. Thanks. Thank you. The next life-saving award goes to retired Lieutenant Paul Crane, Officer Jeff Madeye, Detective Rick Thompson. Could you step forward? And Officer Brian Wilson, Officer Jeremy Holden, Saginaw County Sheriff Sergeant Mark Garabelli, and Saginaw County Deputy Mike Andriotti. On February 17th, 2013, at approximately 12:35 hours, Officer Brian Wilson was the first to arrive on the Russ Street Bridge for a report of a person threatening to jump off the bridge. Officer Wilson, assisted by Officers Holden, Madeye, Thompson, tried to verbal skills in attempting to talk the subject to safety. The subject, unfortunately, immediately jumped into the river. Lieutenant Paul Crane arrived with a rope. Saginaw County Sheriff Department Sergeant Mark Garabelli and Deputy Andriotti, along with Officers Madeye, Thompson, Holden, were able to deploy the rope to the subject, who was now in the frigid water. This enabled him to get onto the ice and allow him to safely walk to shore. Without the quick action of the officers, the subject would have succumbed to the freezing waters. Lieutenant Crane, Officers Wilson, Holden, Madeye, Thompson, and Saginaw County Sheriff Department Sergeant Garabelli and Deputy Andriotti, you are a credit to the City of Saginaw, the Saginaw Police Department, and the Saginaw County Sheriff's Department, and all of the citizens within the county. Thank you for your dedicated service. Thank you, sir. Good job. Again, you're going to have a pile of them before long. You too. Good job. Jeremy, you're going to have a whole bunch of them. Mark, excellent. Thank you. The next award is for the Civilian Employee of the Year at the Saginaw Police Department. Would Juanita Escardo please step forward? Over the course of this year, you have worked at the Saginaw Police Department in the capacity of an administrative professional in the Office of the Chief, the Detective Bureau, and most recently in police administration. Your duties varied far and wide. You were given several new tasks and asked to continue doing many of your old ones. You learned every new assignment with ease and did fantastic work. You are a joy to those around you. For these reasons, you have been selected as a Civilian Employee of the Year for the Saginaw Police Department. Juanita is to be commended for her outstanding service to the community and to the citizens of the City of Saginaw and the Saginaw Police Department, and is most deserving of the Saginaw Police Department Employee of the Year Award. Congratulations, Juanita. The last award of the day, we always save the best for the last. The Officer of the Year, Brian Wilson. Please step forward. When a person takes the oath of a police officer, they swear to uphold the laws of the land, to serve and protect the people of their community. Many go above and beyond their oath and surpass by far the oath they have taken, rendering outstanding service to their community. Brian Wilson, you have been chosen by the Saginaw Police Department as Officer of the Year because of your remarkable service to your community. You have demonstrated initiative, dedication to duty, passion for law enforcement. The list of your accomplishments is long and distinguished. The citizens of the City of Saginaw and your fellow officers have a lot to be thankful for because of your service. And you can take great pride in yourself because of this. You are truly an asset to this community. You're an asset to the City of Saginaw Police Department and to the City of Saginaw and the whole community as a whole. Outstanding work. Congratulations. Thank you to all the officers. I'd like to take this time to thank this lady over here to the right, Sienna Rendon, for putting this program on and all the dedication and hard work that she put into this. If you give her a round of applause. This will conclude this portion of the program. If everybody could go to the first floor in the lobby, we will continue the second portion, which is the memorial service. And after the memorial service, would you please return to this room? There are refreshments in the back for your enjoyment. Thank you.